Hi tubers, I've been wanting to do this video for a while, well at least I've only been doing these videos I guess 3 weeks now, or 2 weeks, how long has it been? 2 weeks. But this is one I've been kind of putting off, procrastinating a little bit because I really wanted to give it a lot of thought. And it has to do with what my goals are, my reasons for losing weight, and why going by the scale is not my big thing. So let me start with the scale. I really don't go by the scale. I haven't in the past, except when I first started a weight loss journey after the birth of my first child, 38 years ago this Saturday, actually is when she was born. And at that time I had put on 54 pounds and wanted to get it off. I joined Weight Watchers with my mother, who was already, I think she was already going at that point. And after she was born, I still had another 30 pounds to lose after about, I think it was 3 weeks or so. After she was born, then I decided I wanted to go on and get off the rest of the weight as fast as I could. So I joined Weight Watchers, and that's when I really, it was one time when I was introduced to the idea of paying attention to the scale. I really had not paid attention to the scale much before that. I know I weighed 110 in high school for a while, and I know I had weighed 115 for a while in high school. And in college, my first year, I put on the freshman 5 anyway, and got up to maybe 100 and I guess it was maybe the freshman 10 to 15 also. 125 maybe, I don't know. I honestly didn't weigh myself in college and at that point. So when I had my first daughter, or first child, I only have one daughter, as I said, wanted to lose the weight. So I really started having to pay attention to the scale, because when you go to Weight Watchers meetings, as those of you who've gone there know, you get weighed, and everyone claps when you lose the weight, and then they commiserate when you don't, and all that kind of thing. And it seemed to be independent of how you felt, what you were doing for exercise, and a few other things. Now this dates me because I know that they do have been emphasizing exercise the last few years. Anyway, I got my lifetime membership. One great advantage about doing it young is you can get your lifetime much more easily, because if you don't, well, I shouldn't say when you're young, when you're thinner, much easier to get that lifetime. So I made my lifetime, been a lifetime member ever since, gone up and down in every which way, been through many different phases of Weight Watchers. But I've never been comfortable with this idea of watching my weight on the scale, mainly because it just didn't seem to be tied into how I felt. So going back to what I was saying earlier, I weighed 110 at one point in high school, and at that point I actually was pretty healthy, because that was during the summer between my 16th and 17th years, when I was in the Netherlands, and I was biking every day and eating really well. And by well, I mean I ate all that I wanted to, including desserts and lots of meat and cheese and different, anything I wanted to eat, I ate. I was cycling enough and walking enough and young enough that it didn't matter. But there have been times in my life when I was a little bit older, in my 20s, and when I was pushing 30, that I weighed 125, and I didn't feel well at all. I just, those were times of stress, a bit, when I was in law school, and I wasn't exercising a whole lot, and so, you know, the scale weight at 125, I was getting sick a lot, didn't feel good at all. So I made an effort to try to start feeling better and eating better, and I did. But I also put on some weight with that. And so along the way, over the last many years, I've been at all kinds of different weights, gone up and down and up and down. The best, the most fit I ever was when I was rowing crew twice a day. I used to live on a river and rowed with a team, and I was rowing twice a day, and I was cycling to the boathouse in between, and really good shape. I was lifting weights, bunch of other things. I happened to have weighed 165, and I know that because I remember remarking to people you know, who never believed that I was that weight, because I looked a lot smaller, but I was solid muscle. And so there I was at 165, which could have been really fat if I'd had my 20-year-old self who weighed 125, excuse me, not looking all that well, not feeling all that well. You know, imagine if I'd been that kind of person with another 40 pounds, it would have been disastrous if I hadn't also been really active and eating healthfully and doing things to be in the best shape of my life. So that really was the best shape of my life when I weighed 100. You know, when I was doing all those things, I happened to weigh 165. So then I want to state another stage in my life, and that's, by the way, I was rowing when I was 40 years old. I started rowing at 40. Then when I was 48, I had put on more weight, and a lot more weight, and I was weighing 230, and I decided that I'm going to announce to the world, kind of like why I'm doing these YouTube videos. I feel like if you announce a goal and you know, report in to people about it, you're much more likely to keep going on toward that goal. So I announced to everybody I knew when I was 48 that I was going to do a triathlon. And so I started training for a triathlon. I weighed 230 pounds. And by the time the triathlon rolled around, 5 months later, I had dropped 40 pounds and again was in great shape. You know, I was swimming, running, not really running so much as walking, race walking, jogging, you know, a few other things. I had bad knees, still have bad knees. But I was cycling like a demon, and I was a decent swimmer too. So I did do my first triathlon, and by that time, as I said, I weighed 190. So again, I was in pretty good shape at that point in time. So I've been up and I've been down, and you know, different weights and whatever, but to me it's all about how fit am I, how am I feeling, what else am I doing in my life. So it's not so much the scale. So I wanted to do this video, part one, I guess, if you will, to explain why the scale is not all that important and why I'm not paying a whole lot of attention to it. And although I'll mention my weight along the journey because people want to know that, I hope that I'll emphasize a bit more on how I'm feeling and the non-scale victories of what's going on, because those are truly the most important things to me. So that's my thoughts on the scale and why I'm not a slave to the scale. Take care.